This Imperial War Museum film gives a unique insight into a neglected period of World War II known as the Phoney War. It begins with troops leaving Waterloo Station to embark at Southampton, arriving at the Terminus station adjoining Southwestern House, later to become HMS Shrapnel. The Phoney War was an 8-month period which began with the declaration of war by the United Kingdom and France against Nazi Germany on the 3rd of September 1939 and ended with the German invasion of France and the Low Countries on the 10th of May 1940. In the first few months of the war, Germany hoped to persuade Britain to agree to peace. Although London hospitals prepared for 300,000 casualties in the first week, Germany unexpectedly did not immediately attack British cities by air. In the film, after arriving in Southampton, troops are seen marching through the entrance at Dock Gate 4 along Brazil Road, which still leads to the Empress Docks, where they are seen embarking for France. Both sides found that attacks on military targets, such as the British attack on Kiel on the second night of the war, led to high losses of aircraft. They also feared retaliation for bombing civilians. Britain and France did not realize that Germany used 90% of its frontline aircraft during the Polish invasion. Civilian attitudes in Britain to their German foes were still not as intense as they were to become after the Blitz. The film is made by Southern Railways, who own the docks at Southampton. Southampton was the main trooping port for the British Army, and Southampton New or Western Docks, completed in 1934, possessed warehouses to store supplies needed for the British Expeditionary Force, or BEF as they were called. In the film, Allied troops are seen returning to home waters for leave. During this period, German military commander Alfred Jodl said that if we did not collapse already in the year 1939, that was due only to the fact that during the Polish campaign, the approximately 110 French and British divisions in the West were held completely inactive against the 23 German divisions. General Siegfried Westphal stated that if the French had attacked in force in September 1939, the German army could only have held out for 1 or 2 weeks. Instead, the catalyst for change came with the Allied debacle in Norway, which forced a now famous debate in the House of Commons, during which the British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain was under constant attack. Many of Chamberlain's supporters had voted against him, whilst others had abstained. As a result, Chamberlain found it impossible to continue to lead a national government or to form a new coalition government with himself as the leader. So on the 10th of May, Chamberlain resigned the premiership, succeeded by Winston Churchill, who was a constant opponent of the policy of appeasement. Churchill formed a new coalition government that included members of the Conservative, Labour and Liberal Party, as well as several ministers from non-political background. The Churchill War Ministry was the United Kingdom's coalition government for most of the Second World War, from the 10th of May 1940 to the 23rd of May 1945. It was led by Winston Churchill, who was appointed Prime Minister by King George VI following the resignation of Neville Chamberlain. 8 months after Britain and France had declared war, German troops marched into Belgium, the Netherlands and Luxembourg, marking the end of the Phoney War and the beginning of the Battle of France. The film puts a brave face on events, showing a group of people crowded around a piano as leave is cancelled and the troops are quickly recalled to France. But the new coalition government could do nothing to prevent Dunkirk when the last of the British Army left on the 3rd of June and signalled to say, "Operation completed, returning to Dover." However, Churchill insisted on coming back for the French, and the Royal Navy returned on the 4th of June to rescue as many as possible of the French rear guard. Over 26,000 French soldiers were evacuated on the last day. The film shows French and Belgian soldiers on the quayside at Dover saved because of Churchill's generosity. They lived to fight again. So did, of course, the British troops that were rescued and were treated not as a defeated army, but heroes. But the smiles could not disguise the severity of the situation. The source of much hilarity on television today, the film shows the deadly seriousness with which the Home Guard was formed. As part of the frantic preparations, signposts were dismantled so as not to aid the expected German onslaught. The call came to donate railings and saucepans which piled up on street corners to provide iron for armaments, and pillboxes were constructed in suburban parks. Some British civilians waited anxiously for news from the front and were unfortunate enough to receive telegrams carrying news of the capture or death of their loved ones. International opinion predicted the imminent collapse of Britain's will to fight, supposing that they would be cowed by the threat of invasion by U-boat blockade or by terror bombing from the huge German air force. Instead, it was to become their finest hour.